This episode of Burnin Daylight is brought to you by Stetson Ranches in Fromberg, Montana. Stetson Ranches is a multi-generational, diversified ranch outfit looking to build something bigger and better for multiple generations of Stetsons to go forward into the future. They are a very, very, very unique, very just a tremendous family that I have the pleasure of calling friends, but they just run a really cool outfit. They got some of the best quarter horses that you can buy, whether you're looking for performance, pleasure, ranching, whatever. These are some of the best and most proven foundation quarter horse bloodlines going back to Zanpar Bar, Two-Eye Jack, Peppy Sandbanger, Doc Bar, just a lot of really well-known, proven, just excellent bloodlines. These colts are put together. The mares are big, shapy, athletic, got a great mind to them. They're breeding them to some of the best studs on the market, giving you a colt that is that's a looker, with a great mind to them, and ready to go any direction you wanna take them. They also got a really awesome branded beef program, direct to consumer, pasture to plate. These are really, really high quality cows that they're breeding. They're registered Black Angus. They're breeding them to registered Hereford bulls. The calves are going to be a F1 Black Baldy cross. You're going to hit the ground running, and they're going to feed out like a son of a bitch. They're gonna grade prime, and it's going to be shipped to your door. For a low price, they got several different options. You can get a full beef. You can get all packages down to an eighth. And they also have a subscription deal for every month. You get a package about 8 to 11 pounds, perfect for you city dwellers if you don't have a big deep freeze. It's 8 to 11 pounds of beef, selected cuts. You'll have stew meat, roast, hamburger, and various cuts of steak. It's all going to grade prime. It's all from the same ranch. Never leaves the ranch except to go to the processor. Best quality feed, some of the most beautiful ranch country you'll ever find, and some of the best people you ever meet. You can find them online, stetsonbeef.com for any of if you'd like to order some beef, stetsonranches.com for the horses, and find them on Facebook and Instagram, Stetson Beef. Let them know you heard about it on Burnin Daylight, and if you use the promo code MOVEYOURASS, MOVEYERASS, that's all one word, take 20% off your first month on the beef subscription program. So anyway, check them out, Stetson Beef, stetsonranches.com, and give them a follow. Next up, we got Loma Livestock, owned and operated by my good buddy George Raftopoulos, and it is I think certified. I think certified might be the word. Also verified. Undoubtedly the best goddamn sale barn in North America. Got a sale coming to you every Monday right there in Loma, Colorado, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, located at 1369 12 and a half Road. If you can't make the sale, you can watch it online, dvauction.com. Click on the Loma Livestock tab. You can watch the sale live right there and bid on it from the comfort of your own home. George is doing a really good job trying to pair up the buyers with the sellers, bringing the most value to your cattle, while also pairing you as a buyer with the best possible cattle for your program. Just a really good outfit, really good people all the way around, and glad to have them on as a sponsor. So check them out online, lomalivestock.com, for a schedule of events, market report, all that good stuff. And make sure you go follow them on Facebook, Instagram, Loma Livestock, and check out the sale and let them know I sent you. And if you'd like to consign or you got any other questions, you'd like to speak to somebody in person, give them a holler, 970-858-9988. Next up, we got Ryan Erickson, Oxbar Custom Cowboy Gear. Ryan's a good friend of mine. He's a working cowboy. He's been working all his life. He's been building cool cowboy shit since about 95, 98, somewhere in there. Long time. He is old, folks. Really old. not quite decrepit yet, still makes some really cool shit, but he is old. It's a wonder he still has me on. Anyhow, he really does make awesome stuff. If you saw the picture of the spurs that he made for the Fancy Loop Friday, he's made me some cool stuff, and he makes buckles, bits, spurs, chaps, chinks, headstalls, just anything you might need as a working cowboy. He can probably build it for you and custom build it to suit you. It's really cool stuff, and yeah, just a good guy. So find him on Facebook and Instagram, Oxbar Custom Cowboy Gear, and let him know you heard about it on Burnin Daylight. Finally, last but not least, we got Jake Houston and Houston Boot Company, the official boot maker of Burnin Daylight. Jake's located there in Virginia City, Nevada. He is building some of the best cowboy boots out there, all handmade, made to measure, made to order, just 100% custom, best quality materials. The leather, he doesn't skimp on the leather, and damn sure doesn't skimp on the detail. He does everything precise, made to your foot, and made to last and look cool as hell. I've got a pair. I like the shit out of him, and he's just a great guy to work with. Good friend of the show, so check him out. If you'd like a pair, you'd like to get measured, or he can also send a kit out to you to measure yourself. But it's better if you just have him measure in person. That way he knows exactly what's going on. But anyhow, check him out on Instagram at Houston Boot Co. Jake Houston on Facebook, and I think he's working on a website. I don't know if he's got that up and running yet. But anyway, if you'd like to get a hold of him, talk a little further, give him a holler, 775-315-3022. And yeah, go check out all these sponsors. I sure appreciate them. And if you'd like to contribute to the show, but not necessarily be a sponsor, check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Burnin Daylight. There's several different tiers there that you can contribute at to help keep this thing going and doing more cool shit. So anyways, I appreciate you all. Let's get into the show.
When my loop takes hold of a 2-year-old by the foot or the neck or the horn, he can plunge and fight till his eyes go white, but I'll throw him as sure as you're born. Though the taut rope sings like a banjo string and the ladder goes creak and strain, I've got no fear of an outlaw steer. I can tumble him on the plains. For a man is a man and a steer is a beast, and the man is the boss of the herd. And each of the bunch, from the biggest to the least, must come down when he says a word. And my leg swings
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley, and we're Burnin Daylight.
Howdy there, Daylight Burners. Happy Monday. I hope the weekend treated you well. Boy, spring is on the way. It's warming up here pretty good. Still getting pretty chilly at night, but the fire, not the fire hydrant, the water hydrant that is right here close to my office that sits in the shade and has been frozen all winter has thawed out. So I think that is a sign that spring is finally here. Hopefully. Anyhow, got a cool episode for you today. A fellow podcaster, gal from Oregon, Central Oregon, she said, and hosts a podcast called Women of the West. Her name is Leah Lowe, and interesting gal. She's got a pretty cool podcast. A lot different than the format I have here, but reaches quite a few people nonetheless. And it was a pretty cool conversation. I was glad to have her on. So without any further ado, here is Leah Lowe and Women of the West. And about how often do you do yours?
I shoot for once a month, but that doesn't always happen. I'm just kind of I don't make any money off mine. I just do it because I love it. So,
yeah,
I shoot for once a month, but sometimes it's 20 times a year. Sometimes it's 6 times a year. So,
yeah, that's all right. Let's see. I'm making sure we're all right. Perfect. We are. All right, Kate, I just went live, so let me know what it looks like on the Facebook page. All right, looks like we're up, so perfect.
Sweet.
Get a few people over here watching, and then yeah, we got a few people joining us here. So welcome there, Daylight Burners. Welcome to the show. Hope your weekend is going well. I've got Leah Lowe from the Women of the West podcast. I feel like we should be like staring each other down like a couple of like stray dogs, looking for the same audience, but you're like talking serious issues and how hard it is for a woman to be in a man's world. And I tell dick jokes and just all sorts of crude humor. But I will say I've been on a kind of a tirade here lately, and I had a guy when I posted that we were doing a show, had a guy say that I should make you a sandwich and just mindfuck everybody. And then also had a guy said like I needed to establish dominance within the first 30 seconds, and like valid points, I think, but I've been going really hard about how men are just better at women, are better than women at everything, like including being a woman. And so I'm gonna, in my way of establishing dominance here, I'm going to I got a really, really cool flex for you. I don't know if you're aware how much you follow politics, but they just passed rules in the House of Representatives that banned all gendered language. Mother, son, father, woman, man, all that. So your podcast is not allowed to be mentioned on the floor of the House of Representatives, but Burnin Daylight is because we're gender neutral. Bam, suck it, men win again. Bam. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. Your show, we were talking just a little bit before, but I would say we started right about the same time. And we're kind of shooting for a little bit of the same audience. Obviously yours is more women centric, being you're talking about women's stuff. And but I've listened to a couple, and you talk. I'm not talking to women, of course, but you talk a little bit about everything. And I don't know. I just I think it's good to have all aspects of the rural community as kind of typecast as we get. We are a very diverse community, and I think we need to get that more out into the mainstream. However that may be, whether it be talking, mental health and the struggles that women face, or, making fun of politicians and telling dick jokes. But as long as we are communicating to the broader public that, hey, we're out here, and some of the shit that you guys pull in the city really, really affects us negatively out here. And we don't have any power to stop it because there's just not enough of us. So I think it's good to just get all voices of agriculture and rural communities out there. And so I appreciate what you do. And thanks for coming on the show. What what has your reception been since you started, I guess?
It's been really interesting and like really positive, and I'll just start with this. I don't want it to be about women's hard stuff we deal with in a men's world. I don't think it's that at all. It's just the shit that I wish my grandma had the balls to tell me about. That's what I want this podcast to be. Is like, I don't think enough of us want to talk about the shit that we put ourselves through and the bad things that have happened. That's like what I want. I want it to be a place of like advice, you know, like my mom's not going to tell me about the abusive relationship she was in. That's just not what their generation does. But here I have these strangers on the internet that'll tell me about it and tell the whole world about it. But overall, it's been like overwhelmingly positive, and it's amazing to me just how many people are struggling and like won't say anything about it. And not just women. I see that in, you know, I'm only 24 years old, but I don't know a single friend of mine, and maybe this just says something about my friend group, you know, that doesn't struggle with depression or hasn't tried to kill themselves or, you know, all this just horrible shit that no one's saying boo about. That's what I wanted that podcast to focus on, and it does. But like the strangers that have reached out to me and said like, you know what, thanks for having the balls to ask somebody that, because I wouldn't have, but I learned from it. It's been years ago, so
Hey, we're back. Oh, good old rural internet. But no, I think that's right. You know, there's that old as very prevalent in the ag community, that old just pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, rub some dirt on it. You'll get over it. And I think there's some real valuable advice to that. But there's shit when it comes to the brain that it just doesn't work that way. And as much as you'd like it to, it don't. And and you're seeing it. Well, like me and Aaron, my buddy that I do the Strictly Political show with, we were talking about it with these mass shootings. You know, I'm about, well, shit, I guess I'm 11 years older than you. Fuck, I'm old. But like I was in junior high when Columbine happened, and that was a weird deal. You know, you didn't really, and now before the pandemic, it seemed like there was some sort of mass shooting, whether it be school shooting or a mall or something. Like every other week, it seemed like there was another one. And everybody's, you know, it's always assault weapons ban or fucking come and take it. That's the only conversation being had. And in the meantime, like the one thing that all these people have in common, I don't know about the most recent ones, but before them, the most common thing they have, or the one thing they have in common, is these pharmaceutical drugs, which are, you know, for whether it be for antidepressants or antipsychotics or whatever. And whether that caused it, I don't know, but nobody's even having that conversation. It's always just, you know, the guns. And the mental health aspect of this country is just, I mean, it's atrocious. the level of funding, and just the level of attention that's paid to mental health. It's picked up in the last several years, but man, it's still miserably inadequate.
Well, it is, and I'm totally a political conspiracy theorist, so bear with me. But,
me too. Let's go. Let's go deep.
But there's all this money in big pharma, and you know, I'm somebody who my regular doctors just, here's some Wellbutrin. All right, well, that made me want to fucking kill myself twice as much as I wanted to before. That's not going to work. And I think there's a lot of people that medication just doesn't work for. If you want to get your shit straight, you're going to have to put in some serious hard work. to feel good and to be a functioning member of society. And that's the conversation that's not being had. It's like, oh, you're kind of sad. Let's give you some XYZ. You know, there's hundreds of antidepressants out on the market that, you know, Big Pharma is pushing, who owns a lot of our food supply and yada, yada. You know, it's all kind of interconnected, but I think that's a push I want with my podcast and my audience is that, you know, nobody's going to fucking do it for you. You're either going to feel better or not. And you do still have to put the work in to figure that out, because meds is not the answer to anything. And whether that be that causes you to have a psychotic break and yeah, you know, whatever, but it's just the reality of it. It's not as simple as a antipsychotic pill to fix your shit.
Well, and you could start looking at your brain like a machine. That, you know, little preventative maintenance goes a long ways, and whether that be just like, I don't know, like meditation, or just like shutting your damn phone off and reading a book, maybe, or like stop scrolling social media. I love social media. I love technology. I mean, it's the fact that we got Oregon, Nevada, and Vermont all talking on a show that's being broadcast to 2 people. And you know, it's pretty cool. But then at the same time, you've got like the Insta hoes where it seems like their only focus in life is to take a different angle picture of their ass and put it on social media, and then, you know, like hashtag fitness or whatever. And then you got like the rates of suicide for teenage girls is skyrocketing, which never happens. It's usually the boys that commit suicide, but like the girls, that the number of especially young girls that have in the past few years since the advent of social media has been like very troubling. So there's some obvious downsides to it, and there's times where it's just shut it off, like just put it down, go do something, go for a run, go for a ride, whatever, or read a book. You know, we started this book club. I haven't done much with it, but I've at least put out a book that I've been reading for everybody else that wants to follow along, and it's cool, especially seeing how I have a bunch of cowhands that follow me. How many cowhands are like, hey, here's a good book that you need to read, and then not just you know, it's not just, you know, your typical action, you know, adventure cowboy books. It's just, you know, it's just making that stuff cool again is good, and I think that'll do a lot for mental health, because then you do research and you find out different things, and you might find something that works for you that, you know, that medicine can't do. And yeah, I don't know. It's there's something to that unplugging, where finding that balance of using social media to get what you need done and meet some new people and whatnot, but also like moving, not letting it control your life.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like the necessary evil of our lifetimes, you know, because we are so interconnected. And and I will say that's a big reason I started my podcast. Was I was going up to school in Bozeman and traveling a lot, meeting a lot of people that I followed on social media, especially women that I looked up to. And like in person, they were a bunch of bitches. And I was just like blown away. You know, you can have this total like social media platform where you ride your horse and you make your shit and, you know, everything's hunky dory, and you meet them in person and they're just like miserable to be around. And I just saw a lot of like media outlets using the same 4 faces, you know, and I just thought these people like kind of suck, and I want to pass on that spotlight to women who are actually like making a difference in living through these traumatic things and still being pleasant, functioning members of society on the.
Well, yeah, I think that's important. That's one of the reasons I started mine too. I've said it quite a bit, but I think we've got to stop waiting around for people to come out and discover our stories, or discover what we're doing, so they can tell a nice story. We just tell our own damn story. That way, it doesn't get get the Hollywood effect to it. It doesn't get the media spin. Just tell it ourselves. Like we're in the, like, I know you're in the kind of the horse and Western kind of ranching world. There's nobody on earth that tells a story as good as an old cowhand. I mean, I will fight anybody for that point. Like there's nobody except maybe like an old black man. An old black man can give an old cowhand now if you get an old black cowhand, probably game over. But so why don't we tell our own stories? We know how to tell them better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I don't know what I saw on your post, like that you just had oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was saying that song that I sent you, and I said, oh, this is the one. One of my best friends in the whole world is a 50-year-old cowhand that lives in Northern California. And that's his favorite song. That's why he got had to do that for him.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Well, I was looking at one of your posts, and I saw that you just hit like the 10,000 download mark, which is pretty big considering you've had like 13 or 14 episodes that you've published, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're getting some really good response on your episodes. So like you're far beyond what I am, like average download. I've got way more downloads than you, but I've also put out close to 300 episodes at this point. So it's but as we can both see from our response, like the market's out there. So like the more people we can have telling stories like this, the more likely it is that one of us in this little world will break through to the mainstream. And then we could be the agriculture Joe Rogan, where you get people on and talk about real stuff and people actually listen. I mean, that's for as much as I talk about Rogan, it really is phenomenal what that guy's been able to accomplish by just talking for a long period of time and not conforming to this, like you have to go this commercial spot, you can't stay away from these topics. No, you find somebody you think that's interesting and is doing important stuff, and you talk to them for an extended period of time. And there's an audience for it. There's an appetite for it. And we here in the rural world we would be kicking ourselves down the road if we don't take advantage of it now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never been easier. That's the thing. It's not easy to break through, but the technology there to make it, to have the capability, that part's pretty easy. You just put it out there.
Oh yeah. And I think it's just kind of crazy to think about. I think about like the long term, like even in 40 years, you and I are going to be able to go back and listen to these episodes. We might not want to. Hopefully we'll be good enough at our craft later on that it hurts you to listen to the first few. But, these things will be out in the universe for the rest of our lifetimes, for sure.
Well, until they pull the plug on the entire internet, that stuff's out there forever. Mm-hmm. And but like here in in about 6 weeks, I get to go visit with Boots O'Neill in person at the 4 Sixes. I mean, that's one that I want to go back in 30 years and listen to and just tell my kids and hopefully grandkids at that point, like, this is an old time cowboy. And I got to sit down and meet him in person and hear his story before he passed, you know, like a guy that all he's ever done is cowboy. And like he's seen so many things throughout the years. Like I want to pick his brain and like that's one I haven't even talked to him yet, other than, you know, couple minutes on the phone. But I'm already proud of that one. Like I'm already proud of it.
Yeah, what an honor. You know, not everybody gets that opportunity. I'm going to be tuning in for that one.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. And but like it's just it's neat, you know, like I got to introduce my audience to one of the guys I think is doing some of the coolest shit out there today. And you know, Black Rifle Coffee. I got to have like a real conversation with Corb Lund. I mean, just some really cool people, and you know, and then like I get to share that with the world, and that's cool. Like being able to talk to people you think might be cool, and then it turns out they are, and you get to have like a real conversation with them. It's pretty neat. That's been the coolest part of, and not even just so much the people I have on the podcast, but people I meet just because they're like, hey, I really like that episode, or I like what you're doing. And I've met so many cool people that way.
Well, and it's a good excuse. I'm always like, oh, I wouldn't have a reason to message this gal otherwise, but I have a podcast. Yeah. You want to be on it? Let's be friends.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. Well, another one is Daniele Bellelli. Like, I'm not going to let that guy not be my friend. Like, I just keep emailing him, and as long as he keeps answering me back, I'll keep talking to him. So that's just part of it. And so like I've had several people who's like, I don't know how you do all that. And you just do it. Just if you want to talk to somebody, the first thing to do is ask. And outside of that, you know, I don't have much advice to you, but because if you don't ask, then like there's no way it's going to happen, you know, unless you're just waiting on blind luck. And blind luck a lot of times is when you make it. Just all you got to do is ask.
Yeah, I've been talking to some of my friends about this. There's people who are blessed with like the gift of gab, you know, and I think you and I are both those people, but people who don't just have it naturally, like that's a hard skill to learn, to be able to bullshit with anybody and, you know, like not be weird or uncomfortable about it. It's like some people thinking like to ask somebody to talk to them, that's the most terrifying thing they could think of to do, you know?
Well, I kind of skated through college because of the gift of gab, because I was the guy that in a group project, I did the least amount of work. But if you told me what I needed to say, I would make it sound really good. And I, for some reason, I always got stuck up with the real shy kind of nerdy types that like they were just deathly afraid of speaking in public. So I was like, you guys do the real work. I'll present the fuck out of it. And, you know, it worked out pretty good, but that's I think there's something to that. I mean, you know, just being able to work, find who's good at what. And like I'm not the handiest guy out there. I can probably hang with most of them, get a job done. But I'm not gonna outshine anybody by any means. But I also know, like, I kind of have a feeling when, like, hey, I'll let somebody else ride up here and you know, and take the lead, and I'll pitch in where I can, but like this is a little bit outside my you know, my expertise. And I don't know, there's you can learn a lot from those group projects. Just kind of how everybody works together, but I don't know, if you don't get people, if you don't try to talk to people, like nobody's going to hear our stories. So there's something to that gift of gab, because if you're good at it, you can get other people talked to, and you get a side of story that somebody might not ever hear.
Mm-hmm. But you don't even have to be good at it. You know, there's 3 things you have to do, and I'm going to pass this on for generational advice. You say something to me, and I acknowledge that you said it. I say something to connect with you, and then I ask you a question, and the conversation will never end. Acknowledge, connect, ask a question. You can talk to anybody anywhere for the rest of your life now.
But see, the thing to that is you have to listen, because otherwise you can't really acknowledge what they said. So you have to at least halfway listen to be able to acknowledge. And so being able to talk to somebody, you have to have at least some listening abilities. Not just hearing, but listening.
Yeah, active listening, even.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell my kids that all the time. I was like, I know you heard me, but you are not listening. You're not listening to me. Who's your favorite interview so far?
Oh. I always say it's like the last one I've done, because that's the freshest in my mind. There's so many good ones. I've met so many really cool gals that are just, totally in different realms of the Western world. Can I give you top 3? Top 3 appropriate?
Go for it. We'll swap top 3.
All right, let's do that. Most recently, I talked to Jen Kangas out of Utah. And that one was probably my favorite, because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And she bared it all. She was like, yeah, I moved out here. My house burnt down. My last boyfriend killed himself. And this is how I made it through. And I was like, not expecting that. So that was like a diamond in the rough one.
Oh, wow.
The fact that she could just talk about all these horrible things that have happened to her like that. That's probably my favorite that I've talked to so far.
Cool. And so round out your top 3.
Then let's see. Amanda Dilworth is always one of my favorites. She was the first gal I ever interviewed, and I was terrified. But she was really cool. And thirdly, Jessica Castile. She has Tapadero Annie's. That's where you can find her on Instagram. A lot of people know her, but she was a really cool gal that talked about getting out of an abusive relationship with a kid, and kind of how she's turned her life into what it is now, But that was the first episode that I was like, people will just tell me about this shit. Like, that's so cool to me that I can get people to talk to me and provide that information for somebody else who's going through it that needs to hear it, So those are my top 3. What about you?
I think my top 3, I'm going to put my dad anytime he's up there, because my dad's, he's a fucking legend. He is a modern day Gus McCrae. He really is. And so I got to put him. Scott Hall is going to be up there. He is just Buckaroo superstar. And, I'm going to have to give a toss up between the Knight family out of Elko County, Nevada. That was one that I thought it was going to be a cool episode, and it turned out to be way cooler than I thought. it was a really neat, huge Mormon family from, and they're working on a ranch out there, but they've been everywhere. They'd spent some time in Russia. Like he was kind of helped oversee the importation of like thousands of cattle from the U.S. to Russia. And so that was pretty neat listening to that. And also, there was a guy from, I don't know where he lives now, but he kind of bounced around the Texas Panhandle back in like the 80s and 90s. And I posted on a Facebook group looking for people to interview, and he responded. So I had a conversation with him. I was riding pins, and we were just swapping old cowboy war stories, and it was funner than hell. I had a good time, and I've never talked to him since, but it was a cool little just swapping like old drinking stories when in our heyday of just wild cowboy shit. It was pretty cool. And you'll notice funny how I didn't put any of the big names that I've interviewed on that list, because I truly end up having a better time with just regular folks. There's some cool, I'd say, Daniele Bellelli, Evan Hafer, and Cor Blund live up to the hype. Bill Bullard, on the other hand, did not. I know he's a pretty powerful guy in the cattle world, but I was just not truly all that impressed with him. He just came off as a politician more than anything. And so it was one of those things where it's like, sometimes meeting your heroes ain't a great thing, because I always looked up to Bill Bullard quite a bit, and I still think he's important. I think he's a smart guy, but he just didn't really didn't do it for me when I actually talked to him, one-on-one.
Well, and isn't it funny? You get so excited to meet these people, and then you interview them, and then you go to put something out, and it's their words, but it still has your name on it. I've scrapped an interview or two in my day because I just couldn't do it. So, yeah.
Now there's some though. I typically think the ones where I always have just like a gut feeling, like those are my type of people. Like I'm usually pretty on about that. Like, but there are just certain people I always thought, like, if I get a chance to talk to them, I bet we'd have a cool conversation. And the couple that I've been able to have that conversation with has turned out pretty true. So I just kind of go with my gut on that.
Yeah, you can tell who is like a salt of the earth person right off the bat.
Yeah, and so I guess that's my biggest advice for anybody that, like, if they want to start a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever, is just like, think about what you would want to listen to and try to do that. And so think about who you'd want to talk to and go ask them. That's about all like the best advice I can tell you is just go do it, or at least try. And otherwise, I mean, it was John Wilkes Booth that said, "Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you never take."
True that.
Don't give me that, Kate. Don't give me that, Kate. That was a good one. I can't take credit for that one. I heard that on I think on Drinking Bros podcast, but that's always a classic joke.
Oh. And don't get caught up in equipment. I'm laughing because you guys have microphones and I'm balancing my screen, but I still record my podcast with my little Apple headphones that come with it. And maybe I'm biased. Maybe my sound quality sucks and nobody's told me. But you can make a decent sounding podcast with $5 worth of gear.
Yeah, you really can. That's how I started mine, was with a pair of earbuds, and I recorded it while I was riding pins on my phone. Did that for quite a while. I mean, I've upgraded since then, and it makes a difference in the overall quality, but like, it's all semantics at that point. I mean, it's just kind of like how how professional do you want to make it, but to get it out there, it don't take much.
That's true.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's I guess we'll wrap it up for we're about 45, are we, Kate? Cool. So we'll wrap up the main segment. Who's on your bucket list to interview?
Ooh. I don't even have one. I just meet cool women and I go for it. I have a pretty close friend of mine that I hope to interview very soon. And that should be a good one. She got pregnant at 17 and raised her kids on the Roaring Springs Ranch in Eastern Oregon, and has lived a very strange. She's lived a lot of life, but she's on my target list right now. So hopefully that'll be coming out soon, though.
Nice, that's awesome. You got to have somebody, who's like the one person. If you could never interview another person, who would it be?
My mom. I haven't interviewed my mom yet. How about that? She's a wise lady. Go. I need to get her out there.
Cool. Awesome. Well, so you're shooting for once a month, and I guess where can everybody find you? Where they follow you, subscribe, all that stuff.
We're on Instagram and Facebook at Women of the West Podcast, and you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SoundCloud at Women of the West Podcast.
Cool.
So,
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. And do you know my sign off?
No, I didn't listen to a full one before you agreed.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll put it in the chat here, and then you can sign us off.
All right. Move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Bam. There we go.
Love that. That's a good one.
When my loop takes hold of a 2-year-old by the foot or the neck or the horn, he can plunge and fight till his eyes go white, but I'll throw him as sure as you're born. Though the taut rope sings like a banjo string and the ladder goes creak and strain, I've got no fear of an outlaw steer. I can tumble him on the plains. For a man is a man and a steer is a beast, and the man is the boss of the herd. And each of the bunch, from the biggest to the least, must come down when he says a word. When my leg swings wide across an outlaw horse and my spurs clench into his side, he can roar and pitch over hill and ditch, but wherever he goes I'll ride. Let him spin and flop like a crazy top, or flit like a wind whipped smoke, but he'll know the feel of a riled hill till he's happy to own his broke. For a man is a man and a horse is a brute, and the horse may be prince of his clan, but he'll bow to the bit in the steel shod boot, and on that his boss is the man. When the devil at rest underneath my vest gets up and begins to paw, and my hot tongue strains at his bridle reins, then I'll tackle the real outlaw. When I get plumb riled and my senses go wild and my temper is fractious grow, if he'll hump his neck just a trifling speck, it's dollars to dimes I'm thrown. For a man is a man, but he's partly a beast. He can brag till he makes you deaf, but the one lone brute from the west to the east that he can't quite breaks himself.